So good morning and good evening. Welcome to the study circle, Sri Aurobindo and Mother Study Circle. And as we know, we are going through the passages of Looking from Within, a compilation by Dr. S Dalal. So we are on chapter 2, and let's see where we were. Yeah, and before we begin, my apologies. Just taking a few moments to ingather ourselves. Focus on our breath. Breathing in mindfulness, breathing out with mindfulness. Invoking Mother and Sri Aurobindo's grace and presence as we go through these words, and setting an aspiration for more courage, more receptivity, more suppleness, so that I can take what I can take, what I am capable of taking today, and put it in my everyday life, so that the life can change. And these are not mere words that I have read or heard. Thank you. So just to the sections, chapter 2's name is Action and Work. We have read through acting from within, and now we are going on section 2, which says choice of work. So if you would like, Ritu, you can read, otherwise I can read.
What is my place in the universal work? We all have a role to fulfill, a work to accomplish, a place which we alone can occupy. But since this work is the expression, the outer manifestation of the inmost depth of our being, we can become conscious of its definitive form only when we become conscious of this depth within ourselves. That is what sometimes happens in cases of true conversion. The moment we perceive the transfiguring light and give ourselves to it without reserve, we can suddenly and precisely become aware of what we are made for, of the purpose of our existence on earth. But this enlightenment is exceptional. It is brought about within us by a whole series of efforts and inner attitudes. And one of the essential conditions, if we want to achieve and maintain within ourselves these attitudes, these soul states, is to devote part of our time each day to some impersonal action. Every day, we must do something useful for others. Until we know the essential thing we are intended to do, we must therefore find a temporary occupation which will be the best possible manifestation of our present capacities and our goodwill. Then we shall give ourselves to this occupation with conscientiousness and perseverance, knowing that it may well be only a stage and that with the progress of our ideal and our energies, we shall certainly one day be led to see more clearly the work we must accomplish, to the extent that we lose the habit of referring everything to ourselves and learn more and more to give ourselves more completely. With greater love to earth and men, we shall see our horizons widen and our duties become more numerous and clear. we shall find that our action follows a general line of progression determined by our own particular temperament. Indeed, these successive occupations we shall hold before we become conscious of the definitive form of our action will always point in the same direction, be of the same type and mode, which is the spontaneous expression of our character, our nature, our own characteristic vibration. The discovery of this tendency, this particular orientation, should come about quite naturally. It is a matter of taste and free choice beyond all outer selfish considerations. People are often blamed for choosing an action for themselves which does not correspond to their abilities. There is a slight confusion here.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it's a much bigger passage than I expected because till now we were getting such smaller ones. So we have read 2 pages. Good to just stop and reflect a bit before we proceed. So the question is, what is my place in the universal work? So you know how we have so many questions in our life. That's how we are raised, right? That's how we have been trained, that the more questions you ask, the more you'll know. And yet there are some questions which really add value to our life, and this seems like a very good question. You know, what is my aim in life? What is my place in this universal work? So to answer that, Mother is saying we all have a role to fulfill, a work to accomplish, a place which we alone can occupy. We often, use the example of a puzzle. That okay, so if there's like, 500 piece puzzle or a 5,000 piece puzzle, each place can be occupied by just that part. You cannot, I mean, you can of course force it in, but comfortably, beautifully, rightfully, just one piece can fit. And some pieces of the puzzle are so beautiful, while others are just plain, right? Maybe if it's a sky, it's blue. If it's grass, it's just plain green. And yet it completes the puzzle. So instead of, especially some of us who have self-worth issues and we keep wondering, what am I doing, or whatever I'm doing, how little it's adding. And yet, just by being who we are, if we are able to fulfill what we can fulfill, how they say we all have a purpose, our piece of puzzle will be at its place. And that's quite nice. That's a life well lived, I would say. So we all have a role to fulfill, a work to accomplish, a place which we alone can occupy. But since this work is the expression, the outer manifestation of the inmost depth of our being, we can become conscious of its definitive form only when we become conscious of this depth within ourselves, right? It's like, say, I have to paint something with a green color, and I have a pen in which ink can be filled. So if I want the outer to be green, I have to fill in that energy, that color that I want to be outside as well. Not a very good example, but if the inner is what that's reflected outside, then to see it outside, we have to be conscious of this depth which is within ourselves. This is what sometimes happens in cases of true conversion. So she's referring to when we become conscious of this depth within ourselves. So that happens in cases of true conversion. The moment we perceive the transfiguring light and give ourselves to it without reserve. Okay, this is what I'm meant to do. This will change me. This is my transfiguration, transformation. We suddenly and precisely become aware of what we are made for, of the purpose of our existence on earth. I think here these two words I resonated with quite strongly, suddenly and precisely. Lot of times, we feel that the more we proceed, the more effort we put, the more insincerities, the more how Rumi says that the further I go, the more I see how far I am. So sometimes things look really far, that I keep repeating the same thing again and again and again. But here it is said we can suddenly, like it doesn't have to be very logical. It's not about how many times I have fallen or how much I've tried and I have been unsuccessful. We can suddenly and precisely. I think the word precisely again is also very important because a lot of times there is a lot of confusion in our minds, right? We see so much and there's so much more that is pulling us in different directions that one wonders what is right, what is wrong. So, Mother says we can suddenly and precisely become aware of what we are made for, of the purpose of our existence on earth. So, the one who look for the purpose, how many of us are actually looking for our purpose on earth? That is the question. Because somehow, in this mela of riding this and eating this and I don't know, earning this and getting those and running after these flashes of whatever. We don't even believe there is a purpose of our existence on earth. We don't know why we are born, where we came from. We don't know where we'll go and what do we have to do here. So yeah, so we can suddenly and precisely become aware of what we are made for, of the purpose of our existence on earth. I'll pause here. If there's anything one wants to add or reflect on or question, we can do that. And that goes for any time if there's anything. But this enlightenment is exceptional. This thing, if it happens, it's exceptional. It's not the rule. It is brought about within us by a whole series of efforts and inner attitudes. So it is brought about within us by a whole series of efforts and inner attitude. And one of the essential conditions, if we want to achieve and maintain within ourselves these attitudes, again, very important, right? One thing is achieved. A lot of us do touch such places or such events or some expansion, some transformations, but it's very difficult to maintain it. We keep slipping back to the old habits. So, if we want to achieve and maintain within ourselves these attitudes, these soul states, is to devote part of our time each day to some impersonal action. Every day we must do something useful for others. That's a beautiful advice by Mother. And she's not asking for much. So, until we know the essential thing we are intended to do, we must therefore find a temporary occupation which will be the best possible manifestation of our present capacities and our goodwill. So many times this question visits us in our life that what is the best thing I can do with myself? So while we know what we have to do or why we are born or what is the purpose, in the meantime, we can find not one and many temporary occupations, sometimes because we keep switching if we don't like it, to try to the best possible manifestation of our present capacity. So maybe we are born to do 100 ampere something, but right now, if I'm at 2, let me find something at least which utilizes my 2. 100 will come when it will come, but 2 can come right now. But usually, because in my comfort and conveniences, I remain a point 1, a point 2, for example. So at least do the maximum that you can right now. So, best possible manifestation of our present capacities and our goodwill. Then we shall give ourselves to this occupation with consciousness, consci- conscientiousness, and perseverance, knowing that it may well be only a stage, and that with the progress of our ideal and our energies, we shall certainly one day be led to see more clearly the work we must accomplish. So, when we give ourselves fully to anything, even if we feel this is not it, but if we are giving 100%, and how sometimes mother says that do everything as if you're doing it for the divine, and everything will be consecrated accordingly. So, on the same lines, knowing that I will be led with a faith, we can we can work more effectively, more beautifully, more clearly. The work will be accomplished. Some of us feel frustrated with the things we are doing, and yet if we are sure that this is taking us somewhere and the path will be shown, it will be shown. To the extent that we lose the habit of referring everything to ourselves and learn more and more to give ourselves more completely with greater love to earth and men, we shall see our horizons widen and our duties become more numerous and clear. Just 1 second. Sorry, yeah.
So, this one thing for which we should dedicate ourselves, can it be something um, which is one's otherwise day to day work done in a more selfless manner, or it should be some kind of social work?
I think it can be anything that I want it to be. I mean, if I am doing any, like, say, if it's not social work, and I don't think it's referring to social work here. So, anything that I'm doing, if I'm doing it to the best of my capacities, not in a very ambitious capacity here, how mother is saying to offer oneself. In addition to our work, every day we must do something useful for others. She talks about impersonal action. And then when she talks about temporary occupations, right? If we try to do the best we can do, because usually there also there's a lot of insincerity, right? But if we do everything that I'm doing it for the divine, I'm doing it for the divine, we see there's a lot of change in the way we are doing things. And suddenly we even can start liking what we didn't like before. But again, always remembering that what I am meant to do will be shown to me.
So, what does temporary occupation mean here? That what we are doing, the special thing which we should do for something for useful for others should be temporary.
No, basically, if you remember how it started, this passage started with this, that we all have a true purpose here, right? But
Hmm.
because we are disconnected from within, we cannot know what the purpose is. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we read. So here, the temporary, according to me, is referring to that while you are finding that you want to find that purpose, but you have not found your true purpose while you are doing your temporary occupations till you find that true purpose. So that is a temporary occupation.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Like,
I can't do what I am meant to do, but I am not connected within to know what is my true calling. So till I am doing that, till I reach the stage where I just that transfiguration happens, till then what I am doing is a temporary occupation, and that should be the best possible manifestation of my present capacities and goodwill.
so let's say somebody goes to the factory every day, and that's all. I mean, that's what he has done for most of his life, starting from when he was out of college. And but that he does with discipline, and he spends the day and his entire month and year and day after day with um, I mean, devoted to that work. So will that also count as something which he is doing? Uh, I don't know whether it's going to be useful for others. Directly, it might not be useful for others, but indirectly, it might be useful to others, like giving job to people and sometimes helping people when they need some help. So will that count as this temporary occupation?
I think absolutely, right? Like we have this false notion that social work is good and regular work is bad. So here mother never used the word, right? Yeah, just give me 1 second. Yeah, so she never used that work. So anything, the word, sorry, what you just described, or any other thing, even if you're not giving occupations to others and you are occupied, employed yourself, but if you are able to do it, the word she uses is to our present capacities and our goodwill. That will be the good, best possible, that is a if that is the best possible manifestation of our present capacities and our goodwill. Yeah.
So, like sometimes, I notice that a lot of people who have to just concentrate on their day to day earnings. I mean, they just live for the day, they earn for the day, and they're doing the same repetitive work their entire life, maybe a laborer. So, um, then the difference here would be how you're doing that work, your attitude. So, does that does it mean the same here? I mean, you can do the same work with an attitude of being selfless, although you are getting paid for it, but then still you're doing it in a with an attitude of while doing that work, you are being careful for and conscious about the others' needs. And then there might be some people who would just be doing it for themselves. Okay, 8 hours of work and the money I get, that's about it. So the same work can be done with a different attitude, with a different um, heart center. So, does it mean the same here? Or one has to keep on doing that thing which one is doing for the daily livelihood, and then besides that, start with something else?
Yeah, I think it would really could mean anything, but if we are just looking at what is being said here, ना, तो उसमें तो और इसमें भी different different stages होंगी, I feel. So what is being said here is like कि जब तक आपको अपना वो नहीं मिल रहा है गोल, आप जो भी कर रहे हो, उसको आप फुल सिंसेरिटी से करो, है ना। और उसकी मतलब अपने को, जैसे हम बहुत बार ना, आई फील, एंड प्लीज टेल मी इफ यू हैव सीन दिस, वी कीप सेविंग आवर सेल्स, we keep saving our energies, right? We keep saving that, okay, oh, I might get too tired, or this might be just too much for me, oh, I can do this, but I'll do it next week. So I don't give myself much to what I can give, right? So उस हिसाब से we are capable of so much more. The other day, it's funny, and of course we are not there, but in the session of inspirational life, I think last to last time or 3 weeks back, there was a passage in which Aurobindo was saying to, I forget who we are reading about,
Buddha.
Pavitra Da, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So he was saying that, oh, sleeping is a bad habit and you must try, and that's something that we have to get over as well. So imagine that sleeping in general is also that something we can transcend. The body is so capable of getting refreshed by just breathing properly, and right, like so much of our energies are lost and spent where it's not needed at all. Like you have done those art of living advanced courses, right? It has silence for 3 to 4 days. In any of those that you have done, were you actually able to maintain the silence fully? Were you able to do that?
Not 100%,
But till
but
a big
then,
extent you were able to do, right?
yeah, because when that silence period got over, talking and communicating felt like a burden.
Right?
It
So you have
felt like a really big
experienced
burden.
that, है ना? So that means कि so much of energy goes in that, which we don't even realize on a daily basis, right? Like we talk, 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 talk so much, like it's nothing. But when we stop talking and then we have to restart, we realize that, oh my God, right? Like it's really hard work. Like it takes a lot of effort. So just like that, I feel here what one, can also say is that one keeps saving ourselves. So one thing is, if I know I'm doing it for a bigger purpose, right? I'm doing it because I see, actually the things that we do, we are not in love with them, right? So the thing doesn't feel like love when we are able to do so much for the people we love, or for love in general, right? A lot of times, when people are in relationships and stuff, and it's all new, the number of hours they can travel to meet each other, or do insane things. So, but because what we choose usually is not something that we like, it feels hard, and then we are always cutting corners. So I think here what she means is that whatever you are doing, may that be the best possible manifestation of your present capacities and your goodwill. Right? तो अब इसके बीच में कोई भी अगर क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं, है ना, those can be just, one can say कि okay, those can rest, but can I just answer this much? कि is this the best I can do? Is my goodwill there? Right? So then things start getting simpler for me. Because one thing is reading, but of course, then if you're wanting to practice, and that's why there are these questions, right? So that one can incorporate them in our daily lives. So if we just stick to these words, I think that would be a guide itself. Okay, am I doing it this way? Am I doing it this way? And another thing that I have read that mother says is like, do this work as if you do everything as if you're doing it for the divine. Yeah, so then also the quality of the work, like if you're cooking, if you don't like to cook, but if you feel that you're cooking for the divine, so it suddenly just changes a lot of things. Yeah.
I remember in Pondicherry, some sadhak had come to mother and he asked mother, give me some work. And she just assigned him work in the dining hall. And I think for his entire life, He kept doing that work because it was offering to the mother.
Yeah, entire life. I think it was Human. So, and I could be wrong. Yeah, but it's amazing. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and if you just reread what you had read, the next passage, then we shall, then I think it will even become clearer. Just read it again.
Yeah. Then we shall give ourselves to this occupation with conscientiousness and perseverance, knowing that it may well be only a stage, and that with the progress of our ideal and our energies, we shall certainly one day be led to see more clearly the work we must accomplish. To the extent that we lose the habit of referring everything to ourselves and learn more and more to give ourselves more completely with greater love to earth and men, we shall see our horizons widen and our duties become more numerous and clear.
Yeah. I think this last lines, right? To give ourselves more completely with greater love to earth and men, we shall see our horizons widen and our duties become more numerous and clear. So, if we are sincere, if we are honest, these clarity slowly, or at times when mother has said suddenly, it just comes on us, right? But at least we can start using the tools right. We can start using myself. I can start using myself right. Yeah. So we had already read this that we shall find that our action follow the general line of progression determined by our own particular temperament. Indeed, the successive occupations we shall hold before we become conscious of the definitive form of our action will always point in the same direction. So if we are doing it this consciously, she's saying that we realize, how everything is following in the same direction, be of the same type and mode, which is the spontaneous expression of a character, our nature, our own characteristic vibration. The discovery of this tendency, this particular orientation, should come about quite naturally. It is a matter of taste and free choice beyond all outer selfish considerations. People are often blamed for choosing an action for themselves which does not correspond to their abilities. There is a slight confusion here. So, till here we had read, and we can take it up further if there's nothing here, or if there's something, please unmute and we can take it. Yeah, should I read?
I'll go. Those who freely set out to accomplish their own favorite work cannot, in my opinion, be on the right track. This work must surely be the expression of their own particular tendency.
Yeah, you got unmuted.
To accomplish this work all at once in its entirety, in its integrality, in depth, and above all,
Yeah, Ritu, you again got unmute.
Concept to work is
Ritu, would you
imperfect.
like to start from the beginning? You keep getting muted in between for some reason. Start again from those who freely.
Actually, I'm getting a regular call, and every time that call comes, I think
Okay,
I'm
okay,
getting muted.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I'll start.
Yeah.
Those who freely set out to accomplish their um, favorite work cannot, in my opinion, be on the what is it? W on the
Wrong. Wrong.
on the wrong track. This work must surely be the expression of their own particular tendency. But their mistake lies in wanting to accomplish this work all at once in its entirety, in its integrality, in depth, and above all on the surface, forgetting that the very conception of the work is imperfect as they are imperfect, and that to be wise, they should add to the knowledge of what they wish to do the more immediate and practical knowledge of what they are capable of doing at the present moment. Should I repeat this paragraph?
No, no, this time it was perfect. Do you want to read beyond or should we
Yeah.
discuss it first?
Yeah, let's discuss this first.
Okay, do you have anything you would want to say on this? Or should we just go line by line?
Yeah, line by line. Those who
Okay.
freely set out to accomplish their favorite work cannot, in my opinion, be on the wrong track. This work must surely be the expression of their own particular tendency. But their mistake lies in wanting to accomplish this work all at once in its entirety, in its integrality, in depth, and above all on the surface, forgetting that the very conception of the work is imperfect as they are imperfect, and that to be wise they should add to the knowledge of what they wish to do the more immediate and practical knowledge of what they are capable of doing at the present moment. It's a little confusing.
Yeah, so it is because it's worded a little bit, which can be a bit confusing, but if you just look at it again, so first of all, she's saying that those who freely set out to accomplish their own favorite work cannot, in my opinion, be on the wrong track, right? Lot of us, we don't do things which we like, right? Our majors, our studies, our jobs are basically what I was getting, what is paying me better, what is comfortable for me, which company has more name, right? So that's what our decision factors are. But she's saying those who choose their own favorite work, in mother's opinion, they cannot be on the wrong track. This work must surely be the expression of their own particular tendency. Like I feel inclination towards something. I have a talent for something, and despite people might be saying, Kare, how will you even survive on this? If I pursue this, for example, so according to mother, you cannot be on the wrong track, but their mistake lies in wanting to accomplish this work all at once in its entirety. So she says that according to her, sometimes people just, they are very fast in doing what they want to do. Their mistake lies in wanting to accomplish this work all at once in its entirety, in its integrality, in depth, and above all on the surface, forgetting that the very conception of the work is imperfect as they are imperfect, and that to be wise, they should add to the knowledge of what they wish to do the more immediate and practical knowledge of what they are capable of doing at the present moment. So, right now, I know I can do this. A lot of times, say people start painting because they love to paint, but suddenly somebody says that, oh my God, you are such a good painter. Why don't you put an exhibition there, sell your stuff there, put your stuff on eBay, go here, go there, go. It becomes commercial, it becomes too much. They want to expand too fast. They want to be so much more. So the love for the thing, that the reason why they started doing the same thing, that just disappears, right? So if we were able to just do what we are capable of doing right now, or the beauty, enjoying the beauty of what we can do right now, rather than just getting on that train and trying to do this. So that is the mistake, I think Mother is saying. The mistake lies in wanting to accomplish this all at once, in its depth, above all, on the surface. And you know how the passage began, if you remember, the passage said that we are all unique, right? We have a purpose in this world, but till you are able to find that purpose, which you can only find if you connect within, but before you are there, you can do whatever temporary occupation you do it with your best capability and with the goodwill, right? So that's what I feel it's referring to. So rather than going too much, one should add to the knowledge of what they wish to do the more immediate and practical knowledge of what they are capable of doing at the present moment. Because this part maybe confused us, right, a little bit, that the very conception of work is imperfect. So right now, I am acting with something or for something based on my personal preferences, because I'm not in touch with my inner being. So whatever I'm doing, most likely that's not my true calling, but that's a preference. But once I perfect my preferences, I will be guided more and more. When I do them with goodwill and sincerity, I'll be guided more and more towards where I need to be. But you know how it's like that whatever you do, offer it to the divine, for example. Like, Mother says that don't do anything for the sake of pleasure, but take pleasure in everything you do. So that's also something that, usually we find a bit mind boggling, because our whole lives are catered towards gaining more pleasure. So let's see, take more, and it might shed more light if there's still confusion. So, would you like anybody, or Ritu, if you would like to read further, or I can go?
Yeah. By taking both these factors into account, they can employ themselves with a minimum waste of time and energy. But few people act with so much insight and wisdom, and it very often happens that one who is seeking his way falls into one of these two possible errors. Either he takes his desires for realities, that is, he overestimates his present strength and capacity and imagines that he is capable of immediately assuming a place and a role which he can honorably fulfill only after many years of methodical and persevering effort. Or he underestimates his latent powers and deliberately confines himself, in spite of his deeper aspirations, to a task which is far beneath his abilities and which will gradually extinguish within him the light that could have shone for others. It seems difficult at first to steer clear of these pitfalls and find the balanced way, the middle way. But we have a sure pointer to guide us. Above all, whatever we undertake should not be done for the purpose of self assertion. If we are attached to fame and glory, to the esteem of our peers, we are soon led to make concessions to them. And if we seek any opportunity to admire ourselves, it becomes easy to make ourselves out to be what we are not and nothing more obscures the ideal within us. We should never tell ourselves openly or indirectly, I want to be great. What vocation can I find for myself in order to become great? On the contrary, we should tell ourselves there must there must certainly be something I can do better than anyone else, since each one of us is a special mode of manifestation of the divine power, which in its essence is one and all. However humble and modest it may be, this precisely this is precisely the thing to which I should devote myself, and in order to find it, I shall observe and analyze my tastes, tendencies, and preferences, and I shall do it without pride or excessive humility. Whatever others may think, I shall do it just as I breathe, just as the flower smells sweet, quite simply, quite naturally, because I cannot do otherwise. As soon as we abolished, as soon as we have abolished within us, even for a moment, all egoistic desires, all personal and selfish aims, we can surrender to this inner spontaneity, this deep inspiration, which will enable us to commune with the living and progressive forces of the universe. The conception of our work will inevitably grow more perfect as we grow more perfect ourselves. And to realize this growing perfection, no effort to exceed ourselves should be neglected. But the work we perform must become always more and more joyful and spontaneous, like water welling from a pure spring. The mother.
Yeah, did that become more clear now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just take it up a bit more in details, little bit. The mother says, by taking both these factors into account, they can employ themselves with a minimum waste of time and energy. Which two factors are we talking about? I think, firstly, just to recap, the question is, because two of us joined late, the section is choice of work, and the question is, what is my place in the universal work? That's the question that mother is answering. And she started by saying that we all have a role to fulfill, the work to accomplish, a place which we can alone occupy. But since that work is the expression, the outer manifestation of the inmost depth of our being, we can become conscious of its definitive form only when we are in connection with our depth, right? So at times she says that when we perceive the light and give ourselves to it without reserve, we suddenly and precisely become aware of what we are made for and the purpose of our existence. But since this enlightenment is exceptional, we usually, it is brought about with a series of efforts and inner attitude. And one of the essential conditions, if we want to achieve and maintain within ourselves these attitudes, is to devote part of our time each day to some impersonal action. Every day, we must do something useful for others. And I think, in addition to doing things for our families and friends, I think we must attempt to even go a little bit beyond if we can. So, one thing is this, to do something useful for others is impersonal action. And another thing is, until we know the essential thing we are intended to do, we must find a temporary occupation which will be the best possible manifestation of our present capacities and our goodwill. So it's very simple, at least to read and comprehend that. Did you find what you're meant to do? You find anything that you feel, where you feel you can, give your best capacity, be the best capacity, do things to your best capacity and have a good will. So then we shall give ourselves to this occupation with conscientiousness and perseverance, knowing that it may well be only a stage, and that with the progress of our ideal and our energies, we shall certainly one day be led to see more clearly the work we must accomplish, right? That let me do this well, knowing that I will be led, but whatever I have to begin today. I cannot say, okay, right now I'll lie, I'll cheat, I will evade, I will be insincere. But tomorrow, when I get something that I'm truly made to do, then I will be my best behavior and I will do the best I can do. That won't happen. The actions, the attitude, the sincerity, the honesty needs to be established right now. So, to the extent that we lose the habit of referring everything to ourselves and learn more and more to give ourselves more completely with greater love to earth and men, we shall see our horizons widen and our duties become more numerous and clear. We shall find that our action follows a general line of progression determined by our own particular temperament. So, if we begin this sincerity, if we start doing things to the best of our capacities and with the goodwill, we will see that we are guided to where we need to be. So indeed, the successive occupations we shall hold, this we have read that how one thing would lead to the other very systematically, and things will turn out to be according to our nature, what we are meant to be. But this discovery of this tendency, this particular orientation should come about naturally. It's a matter of free choice beyond all selfish considerations. So selfish considerations, so I hope nobody has slept. I'm just talking and talking. So for those who are awake, what kind of selfish consideration is do we think mother is referring here? So a lot of times when we are choosing what we want to do or what I should do, there are a lot of selfish considerations, no? What will I gain out of it? How much will I earn from this? How can I earn more? What will give me more power? What will make me more famous? Right? So when we move beyond these selfish considerations, so I think there's a very important point here among many other things. Mostly our life is what can I get and how can I get the maximum, right? That's the gear we are given as growing up mostly in the society. But here we see it's all about giving. You know how we have done so many sessions even on on this topic that the more I give is the more I get, which is so counterintuitive to how we have been trained to think. So if my occupation is all about what I am getting with my selfish interests in mind, it will just be a commercial occupation which I'll get bored of, where I'll be frustrated, where I'll have crisis and all. But if my general attitude is what can I do? What can I do? And to go to the higher, how can I serve the divine? Even in an ashram, we see people with so many personality issues, so many clashes, so many expectations. Usne daan diya, isne daan diya, I don't want to work here, for example. And yet, why were you there in the first place? Were you there for acknowledgement? Were you there for appreciation? Were you there for, the kudos? Or were you there to serve the divine, for example? So I think that is something that one needs to keep touching base with, that what is the attention? What is my center of operation? Why am I doing this? For anything. There was this beautiful quote from Sri Aurobindo. I am just paraphrasing. I'll see if I can find it. I'll share it on the group, where he had said that anything that you do, I mean, if you're doing anything which has this what about me in it, okay, what's in it for me, that no matter what the action is, that action cannot lead you towards purification. Because if you are involved there, and if it's of anything of you, that what's in it for me, that will be an impure action. So that's a very loud thing to say, very strong thing to say, that, and without any exception. Okay, whenever this selfish consideration comes, then we can be assured that it's lost its purity. So, it's been an hour, and there was a bit of confusion at my end. I had said the child wasn't well, so I apologize for that. But I think maybe we can just pause here today, and next time we'll maybe take an overlap, although we did do it. So the first two pages we have now discussed, and the next two pages of this passage answering this question, that what is, how to choose the work. We'll take it up next week. And again, my apologies, and thank you for joining in and just expressing gratitude to the universe, to the divine, for these words that are our guiding light, that must be our guiding light. And although our patterns, our tendencies, our affinities, our habits take us towards something else, towards these selfish interest, conveniences, comforts, maintenance of the status quo, not to rock boats, for example. May I be guided. May I have the courage, the strength, the goodwill, the grace to follow what's right, so that new habits can be formed, new pathways can be made. This I pray for myself and everyone. May we all be guided towards the highest potential, towards peace and towards light. Thank you.
Thank you.